Good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone, from wherever you're watching from around the world. We have Shane and April Hudson from Spain joining us directly from Spain. Say hi to everyone who's watching today.
Hi.
Hello. Hello from Spain. Hola.
So I want to welcome those who are joining us on the website and various social media platforms. Welcome. Before we get into our questions today, I want to invite you as the audience to join us on our social media and put in your comments or questions. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're interrupting, because you're not. We'll see the questions, but it doesn't interrupt us, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you have questions for them, hop on over, usually Facebook or YouTube, and you'll be able to ask those. Otherwise, if you want to learn more about them, you can scan the QR code in the upper corner there. My left might be on the other side of you, wherever you're watching from, but you can scan that or go to the link in the chat and you can learn all about them. So Shane and April, let's just dive into a fun question. So recently, I was one of those crazy people that decided to watch that Netflix special of Alex Honnold climbing the Taipei Tower and holding my breath and couldn't move my eyes from it. Since you are a rock climber, what were your thoughts on that climb?
Wow. It felt a lot like how do I say this? Here's what's impressive to me is that we're at this stage in climbing. And by that I mean and somehow Honnold is always in the middle of it. Like that guy has a knack for being right in the edge of the promotion of climbing. Exactly. I mean, and just the fact that it was so popular and was on Netflix, and I thought it was kind of goofy, truthfully. Because other people have done solos up buildings before. He's definitely not the first to ever do that.
Correct.
But he was the first there with the whole live camera crew and the whole scene. The actual climbing itself is well within his extreme limits.
Yeah.
So it's kind of repetitive. It's not like a rock where it's changing and you could have rock fall and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying there's not dangerous, and I guess the wind was blowing, but I don't know. He's crazy. It's not for me. And April.
I can't watch it. I can't even I haven't seen his the one about El Capitan. I can't watch it. I
Free
can't.
Solo?
Makes me, even though I know he made it. It just makes me nervous. So I prefer not to watch.
I actually love that movie. I think
I do too. Yeah.
The main thing is the photography of that beautiful mountain just makes me go, yes, to rock climbing.
Well, Jimmy Chin, who's also a climber, he does with his unfortunately now ex-wife, but coming to be ex-wife, but he does actually do a fantastic job with cinematography and photography and just really shows the beauty of the mountain. And I'm not a rock climber, but I admire people like you who do rock climb. But I'm big into the outdoors. But the cinematography, oh my goodness. And Free Solo was much better in the theater. It was really major stomach drop. But yeah, we'll be talking more about that, everyone, when we get into the rock climbing part. But they do a whole lot more, both of them, than just rock climbing. I mean, not saying just, because that's a big deal, at least in my opinion. But we'll go a little deeper though. So when did you first find an interest in climbing, and why do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I've been climbing a lot longer than I want to admit, because it dates me a little bit. But basically, back in college, roommate offered to bring me along, and I was hooked immediately. And climbing is just kind of been with me since college and onward. I'm not a particularly gifted athlete, and I wasn't great in the other sports or whatever, but I love sports. I love athletic pursuits or whatever. And climbing is all of that. And it's just so open-ended, and you can be pretty mediocre at it. You can be like an average Joe and still have a experience that might be as awesome as Alex Honnold's. I think that I naturally gravitate towards things that are challenging for some reason, and there's just infinite challenge available in climbing rocks or climbing mountains or climbing ice, whatever you want to do. So just just can't get enough of it. Still love it. Still want to do more. And then April has her story.
Well, I didn't really know much about climbing until I met Shane. That was pretty much where we met, really, in the canyon near the town where we met. And
our first meetup actually was in the,
That's awesome.
So it was kind of a package deal. No, I don't know if we can say that, but maybe I'll say I fell in love with both when we met, and I got to know each other. So that's where it started for me.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So let's dig a little deeper into your personal stories so that our audience can get to know you a bit better. How did you become a believer, each of you, and when did your faith become your own?
Yeah, I'll start. My story goes back to childhood. I was about 8 years old, and my dear Aunt Thelma had been praying for our family for a long time, and I was visiting her in Fort Smith, Arkansas. She took me to Sunday school, dropped me off in Sunday school, and they had those felt boards, where you could move the figures around on the cardboard, and that was the first time that I had heard and understood the gospel, the problem of sin, God's provision in Jesus and the cross, and the proper response of faith. And I did. I placed my faith in Jesus as my salvation, and I went into my teenage years and truthfully kind of grew away from my beliefs, or I was kind of like wandering a little bit, and then went into college, and it got a little bit more messy and crazy. But God was active in my life anyways, and actually, like, that was right at the climbing time. That's when I started climbing, and lo and behold, some of my closest friends were Christians, and they want to do all this outdoor stuff too. So we were like fly fishing, backpacking. They were hunters. I was a hunter, skiing, and we were in Durango, Colorado, mountain biking and climbing. So this was the late 80s, and we're teaching each other how to rock climb. So during the week it was Bible study, growing in faith, and realizing that, like, hey, I'm an adult now, and it's time to, like, this is really me. This is the way I'm going to walk. I'm going to follow Christ. And then also on Saturdays, our prayer lives are improved as we put ourselves into risky situations on the rock. So because we were trying to figure out what we were doing rock climbing. You couldn't take like classes and stuff back then, It was just like you had to learn how to do it on your own. You read a manual and you go out there and try it. So,
well, I've heard they have mentors too. I've heard that word being tossed around a lot.
We had to be our own mentors at that point. Like, we didn't. There was like going back to the Type A thing, just the phenomena of climbing now. It's like it's in the Olympic. It's everywhere. I'm just like blown away. But back then it was just quite a bit more fringe. It's weird. It's unusual. But now we got like rock stars like Alex Honnold on magazines and stuff like that. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is.
My story kind of started with not quite as extreme outdoors activity, but I was at a Christian summer camp when I remember hearing and understanding for the first time the gospel, and that I needed to trust Christ. So I was 10 years old, just similar age to Shane. And when I trusted Christ, and then I remember going through, I was a kid, so you were learning and growing a little bit. My family kind of, God was working in their hearts, all of our hearts at the same time. And we ended up kind of switching to different churches and getting some different good teaching. But I remember when I was about 15 or 16, high school years, and thinking, okay, this is something that I need to like decide about. I need to decide if this is going to be me or if I'm going to do it a different way. And so that's kind of where, when I remember making it my own. It was still quite young, but it stuck. So that's what I remember. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And this is my favorite question that I sometimes get to ask couples, especially missionary couples. So how did you and April meet?
This is a funny. We have a funny story that we like to share our stories.
Please do.
It was actually a miracle.
Yeah.
It really was a miracle because we met in Rifle, Colorado, which is just it actually is famous for rock climbing. I was there, and at that point I moved there to take jobs as school teacher. I was teaching high school math, and I was climbing the rest of the time. You know, you have the summer off, and I'm climbing at this place. And I realized when I moved to Rifle that God's will for me was to be single, because the possibilities for me finding finding her in a place like that, it's just small town, just small town in the middle of nowhere. If you're young, you just get out of there. That's what you do, or you become a teacher or something like that. So, but April didn't know that. April, yeah.
Well, I'm from Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and I graduated college, and I was going to be a teacher. And gosh, you can be a teacher anywhere. So I was like, well, where do I want to go? Colorado sounded good, and I applied all over. And this little place called Rifle called me up and offered me a job. And so I
on the phone, right?
On
Like
the
on the phone.
yeah, this is
You're hired.
this is where my love for adventure or something started, but or showed itself. But so my mom and I got in a car and drove out to Colorado for me to start my first teaching job in Rifle. And a couple of weeks into the very first teacher training day, I met Shane, and we started talking and realized that we are believers in similar values. So we were just kind of like, that's really interesting. But and then the Lord, I mean, it didn't take long. We started dating, and we were married in less than a year. So over 20 years ago, almost 22 years ago. So
in places like Rifle, Colorado, they say stuff like this, you know, it's like ski town. And so for the ladies, they say that the odds are good because there's a lot of, you know, mountain guys or whatever, something like that. But the problem is that the goods are odd.
The odds are good, but the goods are odd when you move to Rifle. I did not know that.
So how did you adapt? I'm just curious, since it's such a small, odd town.
It was. And I I ended up not living in Rifle. I lived in the town next down the highway a little bit, just because it was a little much for me at first. But there's also the Lord really provided amazing friends for us. Where there's a really, in the school system especially, there's a lot of teachers who are believers and Christians, and they were able to mentor us and help us fit in. So we have there's some really really special memories and really special people that are from there that made it a wonderful place to be while
memories.
We were there.
We had a bunch of really close friends, and it really is a kind of area in Colorado where you can take advantage of everything. So back then you could actually afford to go skiing, and you know, there's mountain biking, and we trained for a couple of running races out there together, trail running and stuff like that, and a lot of rock climbing too. So
that was kind of our life while we were there. Yeah.
And before I ask the question, that's as we get closer to more of our topic of ministry, how did you pop the question?
Skiing. We were skiing.
I was totally off. I was going to say you were on the edge of a cliff or something.
Well, it was too cold at that point. There was snow on the ground, so we couldn't do that. That would have been the summer option.
Everything was perfect. We had Mount Sopris in the background, and I had the ring stuck in a little pocket, hidden carefully, and I dropped down on a knee in front of her. I took my skis and dropped down on a knee, and then the snowmobile came up and
of course,
almost perfect.
Kind of ruined the scene a little bit, but we were giddy. We were happy that it was all that God had brought it all together. So
awesome,
perfect.
Well, now as we move into your married couple, what was the process of realizing your call to Spain to missions?
Yeah. Well, we were doing great there in Rifle and teaching and having a great life. And this was a couple of years. And I had confessed at one point to April that, you know, I kind of had always dreamed of attending to to getting a master's at Dallas Theological Seminary. Perhaps God was calling me to be a pastor or something like that. And April encouraged me to pursue that. So we actually packed up the moving van and left Colorado for Dallas. And there we were in Dallas, and I'm taking class full time, and April was working as a teacher at the time, and I would come home and I would tell her how hard it was to adapt to master's level classes, or whatever. But there was this one class in particular that was really stretching me. It was very hard, but excellent as well. And at that point, Dr. Mark Young was teaching a class called Introduction to Missions at Dallas Seminary, and everybody that goes through Dallas has to take this class. It's a required course, and he made that course just excellent, awesome. I know that he taught it multiple times, but it got better as he went, and God used that class to begin to change my convictions. And I would come home and I'd tell April about these things, and we would like, wow, this is pretty amazing. So maybe we won't be associate pastor in Topeka, Kansas, or something like that. Maybe God wants us to pursue mission. So we changed. April decided to get a master's degree as well in mission, in cross-cultural ministry. And at that point, we just we didn't know the how or the where but we knew the what and we knew why. And God used our training in seminary to begin to form us into the why. And that why we should do formation, that transformation that took place in us was fundamental to our story. Like, it made all the difference. The way that we read the Bible now is about God's mission. And we knew that we had to. We also knew that Mark and Priscilla Young were missionaries with Conservative Baptist Foreign Mission Society back in the day in Europe. So that made us interested in WorldVenture. And then a dear friend from WorldVenture had been doing, recruiting. Like, he was getting to know. He would visit Dallas Seminary with some frequency, and his name is Dennis Vogan. And Dennis Vogan befriended us and became a mentor, and we started a long conversation with him about mission. And we asked a million questions about WorldVenture. He was patient with us, and it took, my degree took 4 years, and then we had to do 2 more years after years. So we knew, like, it was like 6 years worth of seminary, basically, there in Dallas, just doing the slow growth, the simmering of about the why, like the stew had to keep boiling and cooking, and the desire just kept building and building. And it's actually Dennis who asked us, well, what about Spain? The more that he had learned about us, and he knew some of the situation with the team of missionaries that were in Spain already at WorldVenture, he thought that might be a good fit. And we realized, oh wow, that's an intriguing, because April is your Spanish teacher.
I was a Spanish teacher at the time. Yeah,
she's a Spanish teacher, so she knows the language well. And you visited Spain one time. And I just thought Spain was a great place as well. And we thought, oh, that's fascinating. And we were envisioned maybe someplace with malaria or death right around the corner or something like that. And Spain isn't like that at all, really. But then,
we kind of had an immature view of what missions is and what it involves. So it took us a while to actually think, like, oh, could we go somewhere we wanted to go? I mean, that we like, and that's part of how God called us here. So
at that challenge from Dennis, we began taking Spain more seriously, and then studying the situation and realizing, oh, that is a very important place for a mission. So.
Yeah, and with all the refugees and people coming over there, it's even more important. And we'll dig into why it's important a little bit later. But tell me, what some of our audience members have often commented or said to us in various different places that raising support intimidates them. So,
Hmm.
what did God teach you through partner discovery that's what we call it? And what words of encouragement can you give those who are feel intimidated?
Um, as we were going through the slow cook there for 6 years, learning the why of mission, it became evident that this is a team effort. The mission is a team effort. If the church doesn't have the conviction that missions matters, that Jesus gave us this commission to go and make disciples, then just going out there solo on your own isn't really going to work. It's not sustainable, and it's just kind of irresponsible ultimately, and perhaps irrational. Um, yeah, I suppose it is intimidating ultimately, but I think from my experience, like I now realize that like some of the most important people in my life right now are these ministry partners. Like they're close friends. They're people that continue to pray for us and to encourage us and astonish us with their generosity. So that to the point of like now, I don't think I would have it any other way. Like this just makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Because the mission to Spain isn't just the Shane and April show. It's the team and the churches that are behind us that are pushing it forward. Did you want to comment on anything on there?
I just was going to say I've learned about generosity and caring for people and showing love and encouraging. All those things from people that we've partnered with, and our lives are much richer because of these beautiful friendships we have with our partnership team. So I agree. It's been an unexpected joy, maybe, because we were intimidated too at first. It is intimidating, but it's turned into a joy for sure.
Yeah, that I have to agree with you on that. I mean, there's such rich fellowship among different churches and different church members, and that become friends, close friends, and times best friends. And it's amazing to have that support. You're not doing ministry alone. You're able to send a quick message or text to someone and say, "Hey, look, it's really been a tough day." And you get a response. You get people who care about what's going on in your life. The sweetest thing I ever got was even from a non-partner who basically showed up at my house so she could pray with me and told me how much she cares about me. And oh my goodness, the richness of this kind of fellowship I would never have known. So you are absolutely 100% correct. Now we get to the big question where what do you do in Spain?
We are both involved pretty heavily in a teaching at a seminary here in Barcelona, or near Barcelona. We're about 20 minutes outside of Barcelona. That is, we feel like this is a significant place because it's one of 5 seminaries that are Protestant, not Roman Catholic, but Protestant, just 5 of them, that are officially recognized by the Spanish government and their ergo the European Union as well. So this is a 4-year degree that's in the Bible and in theology, and we believe in the program. Like it's a system of study that we just approve of. Like there's a lot of ways to teach Bible and theology, but we have a high view of Scripture at our seminary, and I think the training is pretty significant. So that's essentially our day job. I'm kind of a New Testament specialist, and April is in language and mission.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, really.
Yeah, you
some education. I do a little bit of everything.
We have about 50-50 which is
Yeah.
logical, of students and male and female,
yeah.
but the ratio of male and female teachers is not even close to that. So the female teachers are super important at our place. They have a pretty powerful ministry. Yeah, so that's I teach. Yeah, like the New Testament. I'm also involved in I'm the director of the.
It's like the end of
What do you call that? I know it in Spanish. It's
like a bachelor's thesis almost.
yeah, the
really.
bachelor's thesis. You have to finish. You're in your fourth year. You have to write a big paper. So it's the long year project. Get to see that through. Yeah, so that's our day job. Is teaching in the seminary, and by night we change clothes and we go to a climbing gym, a pretty important climbing gym that's nearby us. And the reason that we do that is because we love climbing, but also because the people there at that climbing gym don't know Christ.
Yeah. So
we knew going to Spain that the percentage of believers, like it's nearly a nation of 48 million or something like that, and only about 500,000 people, approximately 1% of the population, are trusting Christ, faith alone in Christ as for their salvation, and that's just way too small. So we have to be involved in that in some way. This is our attempt. So the friends that I have, or the climbers that I go with, I only have one friend that's a believer, that's a climber actually. All the rest of them are non-believers. But I'm happy with that, and I love that because God needs me.
Yeah.
Near those people. Like I can't be salt and light. I can't have the opportunity to talk about faith in Christ if I'm not in amongst them. I'm trying to say that like there's kind of like a safety or secure place that would be just, there's plenty to do at the seminary that would keep us busy for a long time, but we need to be climbing as well.
In the community, we've had that conviction since we got here, that we always say that our ministry is evangelism and discipleship, and that's obviously very broad, but the discipleship piece is teaching and being with the students, and then one of the most natural places for us to build community and be involved with other people is through climbing, of course, in town and things too, but that's a really good way to build community, sharing a passion, sharing a sport. People go and hang out, so we do too.
Yeah, it's a natural fit. I almost like to think of it as like my camouflage, which sounds kind of weird, but what I mean by that is like the basics of me is not very interesting to my friend. And that is like, well, you're a New Testament scholar. Like, what is that? Like you work at a seminary, like all those things. Unfortunately, in this culture, that kind of throws up a barrier. That's like a place of like, yeah, you're kind of a kook or whatever. I got to get away from you.
They don't really know where to put us, like what box to put us in all the time.
What's that all about? But if I can begin with, like, I'm a climber just like you, because like anywhere else, Spain and evangelism, like the most natural place for that to take place is through trust. And if you gain trust through relationships, and you can develop really nice relationships through a shared passion like rock climbing. So
awesome.
By day we're mild-mannered seminary teachers, and by night we're
climbing
taking out your superhero capes and leaping tall walls in a single bound.
That's our kids. They do that.
Okay, got it. All right.
They're getting really strong. They're pretty good climbers nowadays, and we're trying to keep up with them.
Yeah, we can.
So, how has serving in Spain stretched you?
I was thinking about this question, and the first thing that came to mind. I mean, we've lived here for over 12 years now. We just celebrated our 12th anniversary of coming to Spain, so we're we're quite accustomed to living here, and we've gotten used to many things. But I still am reminded that being patient is important living here. And it's patient in lots of things. There are, in the simple things, life is not as convenient as it is in the US. And so it takes me longer to do things. It takes me longer to cook meals because there aren't as many like ready-made things or, sauces that you can just open up a can and put in as I had access to, or driving can be a lot less convenient because there's no parking or things like that. So like there's just some like paperwork. There's always, no matter what you do, there's always lots of paperwork. So things tend to take longer here still for us. And I think that's just in general, but it's in the culture.
It's a very traditional culture. Tradition is super important, and traditions are slow to change.
Yeah. And it also is, it's true. It's also true in ministry too. We are building relationships with friends who don't know Jesus, but the trust and the relationship building takes a long time. Like it's a slow process. Everything seems to take a long time here. So you don't see results or like kind of splashy things as much as maybe you would want to. So you kind of have to remember patience and God's timing and things like that. So that's what I would say. The needing to have patience has stretched me after being here.
Yeah. So one other thing, I agree with that because it's not just Spain. That's pretty much everywhere. It takes a long time when you're discipling or sharing Christ with someone, even in the U.S. One of the things that I encourage people with is that, you don't look for the big things, you won't see the big things like baptisms or anything or declarations all the time. But what you celebrate is the small things and the big things. So someone takes a step to reading a verse or a chapter or something like that is still is evidence that God at work in their life. And what I like seeing is when God allows us, parts the curtain a little bit and allows us to see what he's doing in that person. And you're like, oh, yay.
Yeah. And that's what you learn to look for the small things and the ways that he's working in little ways. But for sure.
So tell me, you gave us a little bit about the spiritual landscape of Spain, about the percentage of believers. What else is there to share about that?
Yeah.
Well, Spain is very, when we first told some family members that we were coming, they said, well, why would you do that? It's a Catholic country. And we get that a lot. A lot of people think, well, there's no need. This is already Christian. And it is a very nominally Catholic place. Kind of to be Spanish is to be Catholic. But that doesn't always mean that even if people say that they're Catholic, it doesn't mean that they actually have faith or even really understand what the Catholic beliefs are. More than Catholicism, we find a lot of agnostic or atheism, even really. As we talk to people here in Spain, we have very rarely met people who are involved in the Catholic Church or going or attending or anything. Most of what we meet is people who've kind of, that's something from the past. We don't really do that anymore. So I think that's important to keep in mind. You think of Spain as Catholic, but it doesn't really translate to what people believe or it doesn't really affect how they live their lives.
Spain had a tough go in the 20th century. The dictator Franco ruled from the 30s on to the 70s, really kind of kept Spain in the backwaters of the place. And he was a pretty abusive guy. He truly was a dictator. He's a bad guy. But the Roman Catholic Church backed him. And a lot of people remember that. Mm-hmm. So if you were on the bad side of his treatment, or you were on the bad end, you were on the receiving end of his abuse, you kind of have that memory of like, well, wait a minute, they were doing it in the name of the church here too, So there can be the reaction is kind of either like, You know, I don't really,
Yeah.
doesn't really move me, or like I'm flat out like really angry about it. Like, so it doesn't really help us when we want to talk about Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Because it's either the point of like Jesus Christ is like, yeah, we kind of been there, did that. That doesn't really isn't that big a deal to me anymore. Sort of like Easter. I mean, you know, Santa Claus or something like that. Or it's just plain like that inspires in me anger because I remember the family members that suffered abuse at the hands of the church. So we're a little bit of a we have a pretty big challenge because of that. And that's also again why I like talk about my camouflage. I need to like get to the place of like I'm not a weirdo, you know. And there also is that there's one thing that the Roman Catholic Church has done in Spain is to teach everybody pretty consistently that Protestants, or they call us evangelicals here, are kooks. Like we're not talking about things in common of faith, like the cross and virgin birth and stuff like that. We're talking about like, no, they're throw them in with any other religion that doesn't count or whatever. So if I come in sounding like I'm an evangelical too, that's also going to be a challenge with it. So political landscape. I mean, it's hard soil generally. Yeah. Like it's a place that needs Christ but doesn't know that they need Christ. And you mentioned like it's also a very dramatically changing landscape right now too. Like the Spain has realized that their growth is not going to be adequate going in the future. So they're really inviting in a lot of immigration, like from all parts of the world. So that it's changing you can just kind of feel how it's changing the mixture of the culture. Like, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. You know, like it's like things that we took for granted as being uniquely Spanish aren't going to be as Spanish anymore as the cultural milieu changes. So.
Yeah. So that what you kind of said earlier about, you know, being kind of being on the outside of things because you're New Testament scholar and all that. So we have the same issue in the US where we've got, you know, by default, Monday through Friday, we hang out, or Monday through Sunday, we hang out with our Christian friends. And I love how you mentioned earlier, for those who just joined, I love how you mentioned earlier that how you intentionally make time to reach out to the non-believers in your area to show that you're just every bit as normal as anyone else. You know, love rock climbing, you love doing all this stuff, and you just happen to be Christian too and live out your beliefs every day. So, you know, I mean, that is fantastic. But one of the things I want, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I thought of a story that came up. We had a language teacher as we were getting adjusted and getting used to Spanish in Spain, speaking the language. We had a language teacher, and Shane was going to preach a sermon in our little church. And so he offered to come and listen. And we were so excited because he didn't know the Lord, or he wasn't a Christian.
He had been coaching me on the sermon and coaching me on my Spanish, you know, for my delivery. Oh, nice.
So he came to visit, but he called his mom and he told her that he was going to come to an evangelical church. And she was like, oh, no. I mean, she was like really worried for him. Like, no, that won't be that's going to be weird for you. And so it was really interesting. He was fine with coming. He's a pretty
open-minded, adventurous guy. He's like, I'm going to check it out, you know.
But his mom was really worried because she thought he was getting into some kind of really crazy, weird place. And then we the next meeting we kind of just debriefed it and asked him what he thought, and he thought it was really very nice. He didn't think it was kooky at all, but that's always stuck with me as like, wow, that's kind of the perspective of what people think of us from the outside.
But you also, you know, I've done some interviews of people who within our org that have served in seminaries, and many of these Christian students return to their countries. They potentially lead churches for the least reached or in maybe hard to reach areas. How is this true in your seminary? Tell me about what that looks like.
We do have students from really all over the world. A lot of our students are from different countries, especially several Latin American countries right now.
2 students from Cuba.
2 from Cuba, 1 from Ecuador. Some of our Colombia just graduated as well. So we do have students really from all over.
Peru.
Mm-hmm. And well, I was thinking of one. He's about to graduate, and he's been in our school for 4 years now. So this is his 4th year, and he's about to graduate, and he's really excited to return to Ecuador and to get involved with ministry there. And it's really been neat for us to see his growth, because he came quite young when he first started, and over the last 3 or 4 years, he's really developed and matured.
Really become a leader.
Yeah, and become a really neat leader and just hard worker. And he's anyway. So it's really exciting to think of him being here just for a short time, and how it's changed him, and how the Lord has used it to grow him. And now he's getting ready to go back and teach in Ecuador.
For his senior project, the paper that I was telling you about, I'm in charge of that program that they have to write their bachelor's thesis of like 12,000 words or whatever. He's writing a history of the evangelical church in his area or in his region there in Ecuador. So that he's creating a resource for his people back home through his studies at the place. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Like you've had some experience with the Chinese seminary.
Oh, we have. So we are working at EAPSTE. That's our seminary, what it's called. And there's a Chinese seminary that shares the facilities with us.
Kind of partner with them.
Yeah, we partner and share the buildings and things like that. And it's pretty exciting because it's all in Chinese, and the students are living in Europe and Chinese speaking, like going to Chinese speaking churches, but living in all different parts of Europe. And then they come here and get trained, and then they go back to their countries in different parts of Europe. And I actually just got an opportunity this year to help collaborate with the English classes, which was really, really cool and really exciting. It was a very different experience. I hadn't ever taught English to people who I didn't have a common language other than English with. But it was really exciting to think about the influence they were going to have on their countries in Europe, and then also in as people are moving in and out. And so that was kind of another example of how the Lord's been using the students.
We have one former student she's actually Spanish, so she came back to Spain. She returned to Spain after her degree. Yeah. But she got involved in she was an actress by training before seminary. Mm-hmm. And then decided to get involved in filmmaking, basically. So yeah. She started a business recently of making documentaries. She actually did a documentary. Her name's Sarah, and she did a documentary for her end of year project or end of the 4-year project. She, instead of writing the paper, she wrote a documentary. Actually, I think she had to write a paper as well to finish it. It is outstanding. It's now become I think, mandatory viewing for anybody that's going to come and do ministry in Spain, because it tells the history of the Spanish church, the Protestant church here. But this ministry is she's now doing creative films that are for the church and for Christian ministries throughout Spain, and it's a whole business now.
And the film that they created for the project really has had some impact too, because it's they've been able to show it in several secular universities in Spain because of the history piece of it, and it's just the way the creative storytelling that they use has really resonated with people, and so it's pretty exciting to see. There's 2 of them partnering to do this work, to see how they're taking this talent that they have of storytelling and the visual arts and being able to bring this and make it live, and it's the impact that it's having kind of reach, because in the US we think, well, yeah, we have videos and people making Christian documentaries, movies, things like that. We don't have that here. That's a very unique thing. So I mean, I don't know of many other people doing that. So it's really exciting to see her and to see about the impact that she and this company are having in the church and in Spain. So that's one of our other favorite stories.
It's interesting how innovation looks different in every different culture, and how us in the US, we take for granted some things that might be available in other places. So it's interesting to see media explode over there.
Yeah, and specifically like from an evangelical perspective. I mean, there's people making movies or whatever, but not from the church, from the Protestant church's perspective. And so that's what's really exciting to think about how that can impact Spain and their influence. So,
yep. So how can we be praying for your students?
You could join in our prayer with us that God would open their eyes to His mission as well, that they might gain the kind of convictions that we realized when we were in doing our theological training. That the gospel must go forward, because if you look strategically, like where we're positioned on the planet right here in the Iberian Peninsula, you could go anywhere you need to. You could go to the Middle East, you could go to Asia easily, you could go to North Africa. It's an excellent place to launch from as a missionary. So we pray that God would raise up some missionaries out of this place. That's our big conviction.
So if you've heard that prayer out there, I hope you wrote it down. I will post a snippet of that prayer out there, their prayer requests out there as well. So back to rock climbing. One of my favorite subjects, if you couldn't tell, even though I don't rock climb, but we often see videos and documentaries on it. We've talked about it in the earlier part of our live stream, and it highlights everything but Christianity. So, sharing the stories of the rock climbers. So, how you mentioned a little bit of how difficult it is to reach Spaniards. How difficult is it to reach rock climbers with the gospel? I mean, you see everything on there. You got the prayer wheel. You see different rock climbers touch, or they go visit these Hindus and everything. So, how difficult is it to reach with the gospel?
I don't think it's different really than. I think that your average climber nowadays is generally going to be pretty well educated, generally, but has mostly a secular mindset for the most part. They're going to be pretty guarded for a while, but that just gives you more reason to like gain trust, develop trust, to demonstrate that the relationship is real. Like I'm not just. I think that a bait and switch kind of they don't that does not go well. Like it's not. You don't want to like have anybody feeling like they got tricked. So if you're my friend, I want you to know Christ because you're my friend. That's why. Like that's there's not any other reason or trick behind that. So, but the reality is my most significant spiritual conversations have naturally evolved out of like climbing situations, and sometimes that is just because my friend kind of knew who I was, like he was kind of like, checking me out, like wondering like, this kind of, what is this guy all about, like, and then that like as the relationship got better or the trust was gained, that opened up the conversation to ask me more, like, what do you think about the Bible about this or that kind of conversation. I think so. I think it's, you don't have to be a missionary to adapt this tactic. Like you can, like if you're really into bowling, make sure that your bowling team is, that you're on a bowling team with non-Christians, because that's where God wants you to be able to, I'm not going to get sullied, or like, I'm not saying that it's not wearisome to be amongst non-Christians all the time. It is, it has its own challenges, but that's where I need to be if I'm going to be a witness. Like I need to be amongst the people that don't know Christ yet. And climbing's a natural place for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
It might be it could be, maybe you're into cross country skiing, like pursue that with people that are you like to run, or so on and so forth. It's just very it's easy to get pulled into the idea that, like, well, I've got my group or my people that I'm comfortable with, and they all happen to be Christians, so that's where I'm going to be. That's okay to an extent, but if we're not all actively pursuing these relationships with the conviction that God needs to use us as witnesses for Christ, then the church can't grow. I guess it can, but it's going to have to grow by a different way.
I was thinking of, we had last week we had 2 different families in our home, and it was really just like, I look back on it, I think what a kind of amazing situation. But there was an American family that was visiting our area for a couple weeks, and the kids met each other at the climbing gym, and they figured out, like they became instant friends because they have that kind of passion. And they also made friends with another close friends of ours that are climbers at the climbing gym. And so we had an American family and a Spanish family in our home the other night having dinner, and everybody was speaking like different languages. There's Catalan thrown into a third language, so there was all kinds of different languages. Some we understood each other, some we didn't, but it was just such a beautiful picture to me as I sat there and looked at it, like of community, and like we were sharing food together, we were getting to know each other, laughing, the kids were having a blast. And I just thought, wow, that's what a wonderful way to be able to be in community, to get deeper friendships, to get to know people better so we can share. And I was thinking back to your question, is it hard to talk to people about it? Sometimes I feel like, because the typical profile of these people they're into more spiritual things, not necessarily Christian. But sometimes we can get into conversations. They're less hesitant to get into spiritual conversations because it's just kind of like a curiosity. That doesn't always mean that they're interested in like changing their mind about it. But sometimes we do find that the conversations come up a little bit easier because they're more attuned to spiritual things than maybe the average person on the street. Anyway.
Awesome. So we are getting towards the end of our hour. If you have any questions out there, you might want to very quickly type it in as fast as you can. So where is your support at right now?
Our support is pretty healthy. Monthly support.
Monthly commitments are pretty good. Our overall balance, like we call it USF, which just means the base, the fund or whatever, is lower than we're comfortable with. That's usually that's what I'm trying to say, is the money in each month and the money out each month is good, but there's not a good reservoir built up for a reserve for the long time purchases, like a car replacement or plane tickets or that sort of things. The occasional bills. So month to month, great. In the long term, we're looking for God to provide in that way.
So if you are watching online and you'd like to make a one-time generous gift, you can scan the QR code, or you can click on the link in the chat if you're joined us on social media. and make a generous one-time gift to cover these, what I like to call oddball expenses. Oftentimes they have to fly to go on what we call home assignment, which is just WorldVenture speak for we're going to go visit our partners. We're going to go visit our prayer partners. We're going to get some practical things done in the States we can't get done in other countries. And so that's expensive, and you've got other things that happen, other ministry expenses that get reimbursed on a regular basis. So one-time gifts are always welcome. So if you feel led, please do. You can give 25, 50, 100, 200, higher, whatever you feel comfortable with. As we get near the end of our time, though, we want to make sure that we know how to pray for you. So how can people be praying for you both personally and professionally?
Go ahead.
Well, we were thinking about, we have the seminary that we're teaching at is going through a number of changes coming up. I mean, that's just life. But so we asked for prayer for Eepstay, for students coming in, that there will be lots of students coming in, and for the students that are there, that they will be able to focus on their studies. Sometimes people are working and studying, and there's a lot of things going on. So we pray that they would take advantage of the time that they are there, and to really kind of be able to focus and study well while they're there. Also for our boys, we have 3 boys, a 15-year-old, a 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And so we always ask for prayer for them, for their education, for their walk with the Lord, and growth. And just general well-being. We always ask for prayer for our boys too.
I'm in the process of in the final stages, kind of the final stages, the last leg of writing a PhD. So pray that goes well. It's on a topic out of 1 Corinthians 15. Pray that God would bless it. And I have a minor health procedure that's coming up in April. I'm a little bit worried about it, but it should go okay. I mean, we have to find a new doctor, and so please pray for that. That's going to be in April.
Okay. All right. So you have those prayer requests. We will make sure that we put the prayer requests on our platforms as well, so that everyone will be reminded how to pray. Be sure to update us, Shane, about that procedure, of course, in your newsletter. And speaking of newsletter, if you go to their ministry profile, they do have a link to their newsletter if you'd like to sign up to receive them, so you can receive updates on these prayer requests and hear their stories. It's a very interesting one. They also do videos on their YouTube, so you can hear a video update as well periodically. So thank you, Shane and April, for joining us. It was a great conversation, but I do always enjoy visiting with you. So
thank you, Nicole.
Everyone else, you're welcome. Everyone else, we do have 2 live streams coming up next week, or not next week. We have not next week, but the week after. I'm ahead of myself by 1 week already. But on March 9th and March 11th are the next 2 live streams. Oh, and also we have on March 3rd, which is next week, we have another session for prayer. We're praying for the unreached on Tuesday. So we do have a special guest next Tuesday, which is Bruce Cook, who is from Perspectives. He will be joining Keith and Gordon and talk about unreached peoples from a missions perspective. So see you guys all next week. Thank you, Shane and April. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.